Hey, happy Friday, everyone. Hope everybody is doing well. This is a beautiful day. It's the end of the work week for most of us. The weekend is almost here. Very special weekend. And shout out to all the mothers out there. Mother's Day is being celebrated this next Sunday. And I hope all the moms are celebrated as they deserve to be celebrated. Y hoy, este día es Día de las Madres en México. Así que felicidades a todas las mamás mexicanas que sean celebradas por sus seres queridos, por sus hijos y sus seres queridos como ustedes merecen. And this is In the Raw, unscripted, unedited, unpracticed conversation. And I want to talk about something that's been asked of me several times. People ask me, when they get to know me, they say, "What religion are you? Are you religious? And what religion are you?" And my response always is, I'm not of any religion. I don't proclaim any religion. I just study the Bible, believe in God, and try to live a life that will please God. And, I have faults, I have flaws in my life, and I have to admit them, but at the same time, I know that I'm forgiven and I am living the best I can. But that gets me thinking. Many people have a religion. They have a religion or they practice a religion, and we need to understand what religion is. And according to there's different definitions, but according to one I found here, kind of like an official definition of religion is a religion is a unified system of beliefs and practices relative to sacred things. That is to say, things set apart and forbidden. Beliefs and practices which unite into one single moral community called a church, all those who adhere to them. So basically what it's saying is that, it's a system of beliefs and practices related to something that is sacred, and, and things that are set apart and forbidden. So basically it's a way to believe, a way to live, and, with a set of rules. And that's what religion does, right? A set of rules, and answering to a higher deity, whether you believe in a one God or several gods or whatever, there's different beliefs in a higher deity. My take or my interpretation of what religion is, it's basically human attempt to live a life that is moral, a life that is righteous. Right, so man seeks how to live righteous, and they look for that in different deities or different gods, and that's how, as far as I've read, that's how it's been throughout history. Humans trying to live a moral life or a righteous life, and seeking a higher deity for that, right? And so, it's. I think we've all been exposed to that. We've all been involved in that. I was brought up in a home that was very religious. In a church that was religious. My dad was a pastor, and I'm thankful for that, actually, because it's taught me a lot of things that have been very useful in my life. It taught me a lot of things that I've been able to use as I live, and I've lived through my life. I'm almost 60 years old, and I've been able to live, and make decisions, based on what I've learned in my upbringing. So I'm thankful for that. Although I said my dad was a pastor, he was really never religious. My dad wasn't really a religious man. I really appreciate, looking back at his life, I really appreciate that he was aware of his faults. He was aware of his shortcomings, and he admitted them on several occasions. I was able to to live, in my teenage years and young adult. I was able to live close to him, or be close to him, and was able to see that, that, and he was never, not, in no sense, a religious person, following certain rules and things like that. He was a praying man. He was he read the Bible, and then he was, he tried to live the best way he could. Anyways, I want to say what the Bible says about this. And the Bible does talk about religion in several instances, but one that catches my attention is in the book of James. And just to give you a little context, James was the brother of Jesus, or the half-brother of Jesus. And he was one of Jesus' younger brothers. And he was able to observe his brother Jesus as Jesus, walked the earth and lived among us. And he later wrote this letter, based on what he observed and what he, the teachings that he received from Jesus. And he wrote this letter to, many years later, to the Jews that were dispersed from the Roman Empire. They had been dispersed to different places, and he wrote this letter. His intention was to remind them and to teach them and remind them that, this is the way you should be living. This is the way that Jesus wants us to live, and he wrote this letter. And he says this about religion. He says, if you claim to be religious but don't control your tongue, you are fooling yourself, and your religion is worthless. So again, he's making reference that religion is something that is man-made, that man has thought about it, thought it up. And he's saying, you're fooling yourself if you're not really speaking the way you should be speaking, right? The way you should be talking to other people. You're not controlling your tongue, and your religion is worthless. And then he continues to say, pure and genuine religion in the sight of God the Father means caring for orphans and widows in their distress and refusing to let the world corrupt you. So, this is very key. This is very important for us to understand. He's saying that the true religion, it's not all these rules that we place on ourselves. It's not all these rituals that we have to follow. It's not all these, things that we have to do in order to please God. Sometimes we get it wrong, and we have to do this, we have to do that, we have to, in order to please God, in order to be right with God. But this is what he's saying. He's saying true religion inside of God the Father means this is what it is. Care for the orphans, care for the widows, care for those that are in distress, care for those that are in need, help those that are less fortunate than you, in whatever it might be, economically, emotionally, morally, spiritually, whatever, help those that are less fortunate than you, help those that are in distress, help those that are in need. And then he says, and refuse to let the world corrupt you. Don't let the world corrupt you. What does that mean? That means don't let the bad things, the evil that is in this world, don't let that corrupt you. Don't let the evil things, there's a lot of evil out there. And when we don't allow that to corrupt us, then that is the true religion. That's what he's saying. Pure and genuine religion, according to God, means, to care for those that are in need, help those out, and that's what it is, and this takes me to the story of the Good Samaritan. You guys have heard that, right? Maybe, and basically, real quickly, a man is assaulted, and he's beaten, and he's left for dead, and he's been robbed and everything. And a priest walks by, and he kind of just looks at him on the corner of his eye, and he keeps going. And then a Levite comes by also, which is basically those that served in the temple, and he walks by, and he looks at him as well, and he actually even avoids walking next to him. And then this Samaritan, and in those days the Samaritans were looked at as the less desirables. They were looked at as second-class citizens. They weren't really full citizens, or they were looked at as people that were less category. He walks by and he sees them and he stops and he helps them. He picks him up. He puts him on his horse, or he takes him to a place to be taken care of. He pays money for that, and he says, take care of him. I don't know who he is, but I found him on the road. He was beaten and he was left for dead, and that's what James is referring to when he says this is a true religion. This is a true religion, not being a priest, not being somebody that serves in the temple and the church. True religion is helping others that are in need, and being able to live a righteous life, not corrupted by this world. All right, I went a little bit over, but I hope you have a great day, a great weekend. We'll talk to you soon.